My father was taken out. My mother was not taken out, but pretending they were taking him and my uncle to work, to do a job for the Germans, which is obvious potential. My father never came back. My uncle came back. It's the most horror stories you can imagine. And he was there for a few days, and then they finally came back. They let him go for some reason. Then they pulled him out again, and none of them came back. But the one thing I remember, they told us that they saw a German picking up a little child, an infant, throwing him in the air and shooting. And that happened in many ghettos, I guess, in other places. You know, it wasn't unusual. Target shooting. If you didn't do what they told you to do, you could be dead. They would shoot you. And I've seen some shooting in that camp too. Guy stepped out of the row and he was too weak to stand straight. He kept on moving out, and he kept on telling him to go back, and he wouldn't go back. Go up and take a gun and shoot him right in front of everybody. We would ask ourselves the question, where is God? You know, these people never did anything wrong, you know, and they died, and we were alive. You know, it was quite a problem, you know, for us to even think about God at that time. For some of us. Now, many people in the camps that came out of the camps became very religious because they felt that God saved them, you know. With me, didn't happen that way.
Kalman Aron was born in Riga, Latvia in 1924. At age 3, he began drawing, and at age 7, he had his first gallery show of his drawings in his hometown, which all sold in one day. Word of this child prodigy's talent spread to the Prime Minister of Latvia, who commissioned young Aron at age 13 to paint his official portrait.
The word got around that I was doing portraits of people, and suddenly I was making, as a young boy, I was getting money for portraiture, for doing portraits. That's how I started my career.
He then arranged for Aron to attend Riga's Academy of Fine Arts. But in 1941, Kalman Aron's life changed forever. The Germans invaded Latvia, and his parents were brutally killed, along with thousands of others.
They put their stuff together, you know, whatever belongings we could carry on our back, and we left. We went to the railway station. As we arrived at the railway station, we had shooting going on, machine guns, shooting, yelling, screaming, crying. What happened was the Latvians, before the Germans came in, the Latvians suddenly, I don't know who they were, they put on the swastika, and they suddenly became the SS. I mean, they were helping the SS, you know.
The Nazis moved him into the Riga ghetto and forced him into slave labor. They then sent him to 7 different labor and concentration camps across Europe, in the Baltic Forest, Poland, Germany, and finally Czechoslovakia. In the Riga ghetto and subsequent camps, Aron closely watched everyone there, from the guards and commandants to the other detainees. He studied their psychological makeup and learned to become invisible. He equated visibility with death. He continued sketching whenever and however he could, even doing works for his captors in exchange for more food and slightly better treatment.
I was supposed to have a pencil in the camp, a pencil and paper, because they were afraid you were going to send a letter someplace, you know. So I had to be careful. So one of the Germans got me went to Riga. He was going back and forth, and he got me paper and a charcoal pencil. And I did a drawing of him. And the head of the camp found out about it, saw it, and he wanted me to do a drawing of him.
He saw firsthand the horrors and atrocities committed by the Nazi regime. These experiences became inextricably etched into his memories for the rest of his life. Thanks to a chance encounter with an American GI after the war ended, he received a full scholarship to the Academy of Fine Arts in Vienna, where he earned his master's in fine art. In 1949, he emigrated to the United States and arrived in Los Angeles. He immediately became successful painting children and landscapes. Art in America in 1956 selected Aron as an artist of promising new talent.
There are very few artists that make a living from painting, you know, very few. Well, I came to conclusion when I came here that the only way I'm going to be able to make a living from it is by doing portraits, which I started kind of, I didn't expect to do portraits. I didn't even want to do portraits because portraits are a very difficult thing to do.
His unerring portraits quickly captured the imagination of many noteworthy people in the entertainment business, and he was commissioned to paint writer Henry Miller, President Ronald Reagan, composer-conductor Andre Previn, among numerous others. He also developed a unique style known as psychological realism. Over 6 decades of painting, Aron also worked out on canvas what he experienced during the Holocaust. An example is the iconic 8-foot by 3-foot portrait of mother and child, completed in 1951. His landscapes mirrored his own journey of transformation out of the darkness. In the same year, Aron painted Bunker Hill, a scene void of color and life, reflecting his interior landscape. 30 years later, his View from My Balcony reflects the light, color, and texture he has recaptured in his own life. Over his lifetime, Aron has healed himself through his art. His work is shown in galleries, museums, and held in private collections in America, Israel, and Europe. Kalman Aron is one of the last career artists who is a living survivor of the Holocaust. His body of work represents a significant contribution to post-war American émigré art. One of the children he painted was a 6-year-old girl named Susan Beilby. Her mother had seen Kalman's work and commissioned him to paint her daughter. Over the years, Susan continued to stay in touch with Kalman, but she never knew much about his past. 5 decades after the war, he asked her to tell a story. Into the Light, the healing art of Kalman Aron was born.